welcome to another Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is BryanCPSteele, and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my city shows. Hi, everybody. It's been a great week, a good week, a better than average week, all things considered. Obviously the world is dealing with a bunch of world stuff outside these doors, but inside this, the confines of my sanctuary, my studio, my safe space, things are great. And let's talk about those real quick. So first off, Weekend Bryan. Let's pop through that real quick. Personally, I've stepped up the gym going to 4 times a week to try and work out whatever's going on with my back. I have managed to make it better in the morning. I've got kind of a new routine to help me get up and moving and go from bed to chair to standing to doing stuff a lot better. Yeah, so also taking less painkillers, which is always a plus. Yeah, so I'll call that a win. Additionally, real minor, just a little tiny thing. My son had gotten into a little bit of trouble with his grades. He had let some of his grades slip to points where we were not, wanted to kind of remind him, hey, let's focus on school instead of the whole girlfriend D&D games and all that. So let's get that together. And in a matter of 2 weeks, he turned it around, got everything squared away, and he can have his fun D&D filled weekend this week, this upcoming weekend. Speaking of, might as well bring that up, even though it's not my gaming, it's his gaming. My son is running and playing in some D&D games of his own, and that's awesome. It makes me super, super happy that we can share a hobby, even if we don't play all of our games together. It's kind of fun to just we'll be in the car, driving to the grocery store or something, and he'll ask me about a monster that he's creating, or he'll talk about the last session that they got together. How his DM surprise them with this random critter or whatever. It's cool. I am very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate that my career and primary hobbies fall in line. But I am also very fortunate that my family, for the most part, collectively understands it, but also enjoys it and is part of that. So very cool. Very happy. Yay. Hobby news. So I haven't got any work on Baron Staller yet. I keep telling myself I'm going to, but when we get to the work time stuff, I'll mention what happened. But the Necromutants for my demo set that needs to be done by PAX Unplugged are almost done. They've got maybe an hour worth of work left in them. I've just got some highlighting and some shading, and then obviously to, seal them, base them, do the victory lap around the base. You know how it is. But yeah, so I'm very happy with all that. And then maybe if I have time, I'll dive in on my Martian Banshees, because I've got 5 of those sitting there staring at me. And my nose itches. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the hobbying that I have done, is trying to get stuff ready for PAX Unplugged. And I guess Baron Staller is for Adepticon, but you know what I mean. For getting ready for the next big show. More on the show later in this episode. Gaming. So I've been playing. Still playing a lot of Helldivers. I'm really kind of addicted to that game. It's super fun, and I can sit down and just do a little tiny bit and then stop. I don't have to dive in and get through the next big level, or I just can't beat the big bad. It's fun. I'm just really enjoying it, and hope to continue enjoying it in the future. But I did get a chance to play. I got to play some playtest D&D last night. Actually, it's my one of the groups that I normally travel for down to Indianapolis. Now that it's getting closer to winter and a lot of our schedules and getting closer to holidays, we're going to run probably the next 3 or 4 sessions remote. We prefer to be in person, but it is what it is. So, anytime you get a remote session, there is always distraction. There's always, your phone is there. I'm sitting here at my computer, meaning that work is also here looming at me, and I might get a message that's like, hey, one of our Australian playtesters has a question, like that. It's stuff that happens. So remote games are still fun for me, but they are harder for me to stay focused because of exactly that reason. It just is what it is. But we had a good session. I don't think I made it a big secret here. I'm not big on romance in role-playing games. It always feels awkward to have a DM playing your future wife or girlfriend. I like to have it in the background, like having it as part of the character. Nobody like, none of your characters can love anybody ever. But it's always weird and awkward to have it on screen. And last night was very much a social interaction session that kind of culminated into sort of a Beltane style celebration of life before all of us run off to go to certain death. And it still had its share of awkward moments. A bunch of dudes sitting around their computers talking about how their characters are hooking up with ladies. But to be completely fair, all of the relationships that were being talked about here, these are characters, these are NPCs that those characters have connected with. They've been wooing for a long time, it wasn't like just a spur of the moment. Hey, let's have a really horny game session. It was actually some subplots of these characters. My particular character is not like that. So I wasn't involved in that way, but it was cool because the DM still managed to keep me involved in the collective, in the session, by being the outsider watching this kind of weird, this sort of weird human custom of finding mate of the moment kind of things, or talking to one of the other characters about this really long courtship that has lasted a really long time, and it was a really good session. Not what I would have expected. If someone would have handed me the Cliff's Notes and be like, all right, these are the things that are going to happen, I'd probably be like, okay, this is going to be one of those sessions. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good time. We avoided all of the super gross, the things that you hear about people doing around the table. I don't need that narrated. It was very, very much and the lights go dim kind of thing. But it was the lead in, the different interactions between my fellow players. These characters who my character sees them as these chosen warriors that we're going to go defeat the big bads, and seeing them make these connections and create these relationships. And 2 of them got like gala celebration married in the session, and now they've got these attachments back, that they're fighting for. My character had this really interesting way of seeing all of this, and it was cool. It was a lot of fun, and I'm very looking forward to the next session that we get to play, because it sounds like we're going to stop by my character's sort of civilization in decline, ancient peoples that have mostly given up on the world, and I think we're going to see a pretty dramatic shift in tone. That I got to see them say goodbye to their loved ones and make these connections and potentially, create the children's that are gonna that they'll live through if they don't make it through this mission. And then we're gonna come see my people, and I'm sure it's probably gonna be, pinkies out, kind of this dire feel. I don't know. I'm excited. It'll be great. But all in all, it's a great game session, and I'm glad that I got to play it. This weekend, I've got a fun game session we're finally getting Natalie's game back together. And it's actually going to take place over at a different house. It's not happening at our house this weekend because one of our players has a new puppy. So I get to play with a new puppy this weekend. Yeah, puppy. All right, so work stuff. This is always the lion's share of the week in Bryan because it's the thing I do the most. But this has been a great week. We'll talk about Warzone when we get into today's topic. Obviously, you clicked on the thumbnail and you read the thing. You know what this is. What I'm going to be talking about. But work stuff. I got. I made some significant cool breakthroughs with the Throne World Saga and Intergalactic Heroes. I'm starting to create the galactic map, the map of known space, and also I'm getting to add the paragraphs of description of our iconic characters, our main heroes that represent all of the different classes through the books. And one in particular is created, named, and likeness, and maybe a little bit of attitude, after my son. So it's going to be a very cool product. It's going to be an amazing book, amazing series of books, and knowing I can't share what I want to share, but knowing that there are other people, other writers that are going to be involved with this project and doing things with these characters that I've created, there's always a little bit of nervousness, but there's also that kind of excited anxiety to see if I planted the correct seed, and the descriptions that I've given, and we hand this information over to the writer to see what comes back, to see what they can create with, to see what they can grow with my garden, so to speak. I am over the moon, no pun intended, about all of that. Work on the Shadowrun book continues. I'm almost done with the section that I'm working on. The chapter, the short story chunk that I'm working on, which then I get to move into the next person's, which is probably gonna be much easier because that one I don't have to do nearly as much background searching for the next chunk because it's my character. The ones that I've been writing before now have been other people's character templates that I'm using, so I've got to make sure that I do the right thing with those characters. The next one's mine, so I can't not do the right thing because any decision that I make is his anyway. So yeah, no, I'm still working on that. Let's see what else. There was something else I wanted to mention. I had it. Oh yeah, the ink is dry on a project that is going to be fast and furious. It's going to be about a month worth of work, but it is. I can't wait to be able to tell you guys about it. I'm nervous about it a little bit, not of the work itself. The work itself is going to be awesome. Like I know I'm going to come up with cool stuff for it. I have no question there. How it is received by its potential audience, and if part of the deal goes through, the exposure that it's going to get, the amount of eyes that are going to get put on it, that if there's anything that makes me a little nervous about it, it's that, because it means I got to get it right. Because it's through a very prestigious company. It's going to be distributed on a very well received and very popular distribution system. And honestly, it'll probably end up on a lot of like podcasts and things when people start talking about it. Hopefully, for all the right reasons. So it is up to me to me and my partners in crime on this project to create something that makes old fans happy, new fans excited, and tries to put the chocolate in the peanut butter and come up with a Reese's cup. There you go. Or at least maybe a Muddy Buddy. Oh, yeah. The Thundercats project. Devin, Adam, Tommy, and myself have been just working crazy hard to get this project to an amazing point. The goal, of course, is to make sure that the principal manuscript is as done as can be, so the licensor can look it over to make sure that we've done a good job. And then at some point, the licensor is going to kick off the Kickstarter. I thought that it was going to be last month. It sounds like it's going to maybe this month, hopefully soon. But whatever it may be, the book that we have created is really good. It is a solid project. We put in a lot of hours. There's a ton of creatures, a ton of NPCs. There's even an adventure in it, in the core book. But there's subclasses and a new class and origins galore. I mean, like or species origins is an Intergalactic Heroes thing. I mean, like it's gonna be a great product, and I think that it's gonna be a great product for Thundercats fans, because they're gonna see a lot of they're gonna read one of the subclasses and go, oh, like that one guy from that one thing. They're gonna see a feat and go, oh, I know exactly where that got used in the cartoon or the comics, and that's awesome. But I also think we did a good job. We made sure that specifically things like the feats and the spells, and while they have their own Thundercats feel and root, they're absolutely useful outside of playing a Thundercats game. Our goal was to make sure that this book would be useful for any D&D player. Just if a D&D player is like, man, I really want to play X barbarian subclass, that the rules are written so you can 100% do that. It doesn't require you to have Thundrillium. It doesn't require you to be a Thundercat or a mutant. It just requires you to have a character and to use these rules based off of the 2024 5e system. And I really think that what we came up with was very good. It's just a really good product. When we get toward the Kickstarter and when I get the okay from my fellows, I'll probably do a bit of a preview here on the channel. Tell people, kind of some of the things that you'll be interested to see. But again, until the licensor signs off on it and says, okay, cool, we're good to go to editing and layout and do the Kickstarter and all that, I need to be very careful, because obviously I don't want to give away things or promise things that end up getting changed, this, that, and you know the drill. If you've watched this channel for long enough, there's a lot of times there's things I can't say because of an NDA. And this definitely falls under that category. Until I have the opportunity to do so, then I will spill all of the cat-shaped beans, and we'll know all the things. And now, let's get before we get into. So I'm saving. Obviously, Warzone is going to be big in this episode, because I want to talk about the new releases. But I also want to mention that I will not have an episode next week, because I'm going to be over at PAX Unplugged. My last convention of the year. It's the end of the PAX Unplugged, kind of marks the end of my convention circuit in the year. And I'm going with Transatlantis Games to peddle Warzone. So we're going to do a bunch of demos. Barring anything crazy, we're going to have stuff for sale. So if you are going to PAX Unplugged and there's something you want to pick up, or if you know a friend who's going to PAX Unplugged and there's something you want to pick up, have them come by the booth. We'll have the stuff. And the stuff that we'll have is the new Trenchworks snap tray models. So like, it's gonna be awesome. Plus, we'll have demos there available. Alex and myself and Gray, I would say probably the best damn demoer we've ever brought to any of the shows. We're gonna all be there running demos and talking shop and talking about the product and maybe upcoming things, and just, it's gonna be a fun show. Please, please, please swing out and come see me. Maybe get a selfie with me, or I'll get a selfie with you. I like selfies with fans. It'll be great. But there is a much more than non-0% chance that we will have some of the new releases there. Ba, ba, ba. Which means that you might be able to pick up an Immaculate Fury or the Dr. Diana box at PAX Unplugged. Now, I can't promise that because postage and shipping and getting the stuff from Trenchworks to Philadelphia, hopefully all goes well, knock on wood, that everything goes well and everything comes to the places that it's supposed to come to, and all is wonderful and all is well in the world. But there's always the possibility that something bad happens, that the Postal Service freaks out, my government shuts down. But like, there's a very good chance that we'll have that stuff there as these new releases, which brings me directly into what I wanted to talk about today, and that is the new releases themselves, and kind of get behind the mindset of what we did when we created them, and even sort of go through, since these are the first new releases that we've done at Transatlantis, sort of go through the process of how, not the process of how something is made. You don't, not everybody is going to care about that kind of sausage, that sausage making level, but it will be, how we are going to be handling the way that pre-orders and orders and stuff will be once the next releases and so forth and so on. So the first thing that we do is when we have the renders of the new sculpt, so we know that they're done. We've seen what they look like. We've had the master mold maker or the master maker print out what they do, when they look like when they come off the snap tray, and we're ready to go. We're going to take one of those renders and we're going to create what we call in shop, we call that a lore doc or lore document. And what that is it is a PDF that has a picture of the render. It has a picture of the stat card, or cards as the case may be, and then it has two, sometimes three sections. The sections are the background lore for the unit. We know that a lot of our fans are old school fans. The people who are playing, a lot of the people who are playing Warzone are people who've played previous versions of Warzone, and so a lot of times they will know the background of these characters already. They'll know who they were then and what came about. But as we grow this game and as we break ground into new directions, we're gonna need to be able to describe these things and describe the lore and fluff behind these units and behind factions and subfactions and all that. We're gonna need to be able to describe that, because there's gonna be new people that have not played, that have not read 30-year-old books about this unit or that weapon. Why does this weapon have this weird rule? And so we decided, well, what we're going to do is, when we have the model and the cards and everything finalized, we're going to create this lore document. The lore document is going to be something that goes up on the Transatlantis website. I'll obviously spread it out to the socials. And it's a way for people to see what's coming in the very near future, or read about maybe a deeper dive onto some into the lore of the unit, or maybe just learn that there's learn something exists, because they've never seen anything before. The only thing they've seen in Warzone is what's on the website so far. And what this does is it gives us kind of fertile ground to expand on things that were not clear before. Gives us room to make subtle adjustments to not further the storyline, but to make the storyline more cohesive. It allows us to really kind of cement what Warzone Eternal and the Mutant Chronicles in this time era is, and lets us also kind of narratively describe some of the decisions that we've made, like design decisions. It also there's a lot of things over the 3 decades of Warzone that it only got like a couple of sentences of description. Why this is, please, anything that I say right now, do not take this as sacrosanct. Do not take this as confirmed. This is happening. Just know that I'm my brain is going. It's basically stream of consciousness thinking. But like us going into reasoning why there are suddenly dinosaurs on Venus. Why Bauhaus would have them in the first place. Talking about why Mishima has drone technology that Cybertronic doesn't use. Cybertronic has regular AI. What is their AI? There's ways to include that in the narrative to help kind of paint the picture, color the units, and collectively that those pages, those lore documents, will form sort of kind of take the role of what the original printed books did, just literally unit to unit to unit. So rather than having a single release, here's this book that's got 40 units in it, is every time that we have a release, you get the lore for the release. Every time that we're getting ready for the next, this month we've got 2 units coming out. Boom, you've got 2 more lore things to add to your own repertoire, your own knowledge base. It allows us to kind of create an encyclopedic database for everything that we currently have in the game, and this will help us create a pattern that when someone knows a model's coming out, or they see a preview of a sculpt at a show, at a convention, they know that when that lore doc drops, that it's within a week or more, or a week or less, of probably going to pre-order for their stores. So they can take a look at it, they can see the rules, they can read what it's all about, and then they can go to their store and go, I need 5 of these. You need to get a hold of Transatlantis and order, or Trenchworks and order 5 of these, or whatever. And I think that's going to be very helpful, not only to create the Warzone Eternal setting and atmosphere, but also to help players decide whether or not they like cool stuff, or whether or not they like the things that are coming out, because they might see a model and go, I don't really, that's not for me. Or they might see it and it might be over the moon. They're like, oh my god, I love that. I love that so much. What is it? What does it do? The lore document is going to help that, rather than just taking a look at a card, at a stat card, and go, okay, that's what it does. It lets you get into the reason, the reason why this particular character has that special ability, or why does the Punisher short sword have vicious? Oh, it's because it's got a serrated back edge. Oh, that's gnarly. that's what we're hoping to do. That's what we're hoping to do with these lore documents. That's just the lore part. The other part of the the lore drop is a tactics article, and it's not like a do this with your models. It's more of a okay. So the first part was talking about the story. The second part is talking about the rules and talks about where they fit into the faction, where they fit into the battlefield. You know, what makes each of them special in their own way. And one of the things that we tried to do in these lore documents is use bold text on game terms that are important to take note of, or maybe game terms that you might want to make note of for later. You know, this special ability of unstoppable has shown up like 5 times in this one readout. That's obviously a primary ability of this particular unit. Or maybe it's a flag to say, hey, I should look at the stat card, flip it over, and read what that does. Because while we're not going to spell it out in every single instance in the tactics part of the document, it is going to give you a quick overview, and then you can take a look at the card, which will also be part of the document, to understand more the literal wording of the rule. Like the tactics section says, okay, I'm gonna take a look here at the Immaculate Fury. We introduced the rule of gruesome for the Soul Sharer rifle. So you look at the stats and you go, okay, and in the description of the lore doc, it talks about how that gun can cause groups of people to panic. And you're like, okay, cool, but how does that work? Well, on the back of the card, gruesome specifically says, when an enemy unit is removed as a casualty due to a shoot or strike action test performed with this weapon, all enemy units within X inches of the casualty must succeed at a target number leadership test or receive a pin counter. That's what it means. And so it's a way for us to, with a little bit of a narrative brush, but mostly actually talks about battlefield efficiency and what they're actually for. As a way to jumpstart your use. So if you do order it, or if you do download the card and you proxy it on the table to see whether or not you like it, you can actually see what these things were intended to do on the battlefield. You can read that straight away. And then on some special lore drops, there will actually be fiction. I am a writer by nature. And by career. And there are times where the lore drop part of the document just isn't quite enough to convey a concept or an idea, or in our heads, like Alex and I, we see a scene in our heads and go, oh my God, we really want people to be able to see this scene too. On those releases, we will include a short fiction piece that stars that's like a starring role of the unit being previewed, and then that will let us kind of again just fill in more of the world, create a larger narrative base for people to really kind of get sunk in and get stuck in with. And the reason why the Mutant Chronicles have lasted for 30 years is because it is a very rich and varied and convoluted background. This gives us an opportunity to introduce that in small chunks and small bites in a consumable format for the gamer to get to the point where they love the Mutant Chronicles and Warzone as much as we do on a narrative level, but at their own pace, rather than, okay, you got 30 years of reading, get caught up. And so that's what these lore documents are all about. And we dropped 2 of them just last week for the Immaculate Fury and the Doctor's Diana. Let me take a drink real quick. Not a sponsor. And so far, we've been very happy with the results. it's very weird when something releases for us, for as the dev team, the designers, because we've known these have existed for years. In some capacity, they've been, pre-play test stats or play test stats or working on concept art and sculpting. And, we've been working on this stuff for years. So it's not new to us. It's been finalized for several months. And I love the feeling of going to the Discord or going to the Facebook when people see these sculpts for the first time, or when they see these cards and go, oh my gosh, that's going to be perfect for my force. I started a Cybertronic force because of Dr. Diana. Like that's it's such a big rush, but it also is kind of a reminder that as designers, as developers, and to a certain extent the playtesters, they've seen this stuff for months. It's kind of old hat to them. And we have to be mindful of new players that have never seen this before, who have never heard of this before. And we got to be like, all right, it's good to be excited. Or it's pretty common for someone to see the card and go, oh, it's way overcosted. Or, why would you not have 3 of these? Because they've never used them before. Our playtesters have played dozens and dozens of games using these. And, the design rubric behind creating them a lot of times stands the way that it does for a reason. Also because there might be things coming up that you aren't aware of as gamers. Like someone might see a particular unit and go, it's kind of lackluster. Like he's okay, he does a good job, but like he doesn't do anything special. Well, that's because in 6 months we know that there's a model that's going to be coming out for that faction, that the two of them work so well together. We had to make sure that the first part is just a solid guy, but he's not necessarily like the fireworks are going off. He's just a really cool model that we know once he comes out with his kind of cohort, his friend, that they are going to sing. And there's always that feeling. There's always that feeling of, did we make this thing cool enough to stand on its own? And so far, the Immaculate Furies of the Dianas have definitely proven that has been the case. Speaking of, let's go ahead and talk about these guys. So we decided to do, as our first couple of releases, a Dark Legion Shock Trooper, the Immaculate Fury. A lot of people have been equating him to like an Attila from Cybertronic in kind of the point cost and the size and the number of wounds, and kind of he's sort of a slower moving, aggressive fire support unit. And they're not wrong, but there is one thing that is kind of specific about the Immaculate Fury, is the Immaculate Fury has always been kind of, by term shock trooper, it's a pun, because they use terror and symmetry powered weaponry, that basically it's shocking, it's gruesome, it's horrifying, that is, they've got this psychic scream that goes through their weird baleen mouths that liquefies flesh and bone. They don't have a regular, they don't have a regular role. So when Alex and I were putting this together, we were like, all right, what are we going to do? In the past, they've had Immaculate Furies that were armed with Vorish hand cannons, the same gun that the Centurion has. There was one who had like a blast gun kind of thing. It was like almost like a grenade launcher, kind of. And then the one that's very popular to post is the one with the Nazgaroth, the heavy machine gun. Well, we were like, well, we want our Immaculate Fury to be special. He's the first new release post Kickstarter for the Dark Legion. Let's do something special with him. So we made sure that the model itself looked very imposing, not goofy. He's not in a goofy stance. He's not got weird silly turtleneck. Like he's a powerful, like warrior style model, but still has that weird alien feel. And then so we were looking through the weapons, and Alex pointed out, he was like, you know what? There's been models who have been like modeled with them in the past, but no one's ever really done the Soul Shearer rifle as it was originally represented in the Algaroth book, the Algaroth role-playing game book, way back when. So we were like, all right, cool, let's do it. And so we created the Immaculate Fury. So I've got the so you'll notice they're in all sleeves. These are printouts. I still have my playtest copies of the cards. I don't have the real cards yet. But so we made sure that they keep their cool scream, and that is the Immaculate Fury's primary, like, if you get too close, and it's definitely their close combat option. I mean, yeah, they could punch people, but you would much rather scream and liquefy their bones. We treated it as a flamethrower. Basically, it's a projected weapon, so it has an 8-inch column of this horrifying symmetry sound. And because it is a symmetry weapon, he gets to use his power of 14 to roll to hit instead of his missile weapon of 13. So it's not a huge difference, but it's a little bit. It also means that if there are models that have defenses against symmetry, or the Cybertronic take the faction asset that makes a model immune to shoot actions with the symmetry trait, the scream will do nothing to them. And that's pretty cool. But I think the primary reason why people will want to take the Immaculate Fury is for the Soul Shearer rifle. The Soul Shearer rifle is a energy weapon that basically rips people apart from the inside out. There's like, you know, like it's horrible, and it's like this dark energy weapon. And the way that we represented this is that we introduced a new trait, the gruesome trait, that basically states that if someone takes a wound from this, or someone takes a casualty from this weapon, any other friendlies within 3 inches have to take leadership tests, or they get panic tokens. They're like, no, or pin tokens. They're like, oh my god, that dude just exploded from the inside. But as someone who always likes the concept of some weapons not all weapons need to just, you got heavy armor, there's always got to be ways around it. And rather than just making a weapon stronger and tougher and more powerful, because then it works against everybody the same way. When you go, we made this anti-tank rifle, all right, it hits everything like when it hits a tank. You end up either handicapping it because it shouldn't hit regular people for almost no reason. You make it inaccurate because the only things you're shooting at are tanks, which makes sense, but then you're not going to get much out of it if your opponent isn't fielding any tanks. So what we did is we added the terrifying trait to this weapon. And it means that, yeah, it only has a damage rating of 5, but instead of using your armor to defend against it, you use your leadership. And that's a significant drop. Most models have an armor that's 21 or over, meaning that a regular assault rifle with a damage of like 12 or 13, or we'll say 13, 13 is the average, you need an 8 to save. The terrifying trait, forcing someone to go off of their leadership, the average leadership of a regular trooper is like 12, meaning that damage 5, now they need a 7. And there are definitely models with worse leadership. And there's nothing that says you can't aim this weapon because it's not a burst weapon. So, aim it, get that damage rating up to 7. Somebody who's got a leadership of 12, now they're saving on 5s. And 12 is a decent leadership. Like anything to also help accent when we're designing some of these models. a lot of times people are like, well, yeah, but rallying doesn't take anything. I'm not a recruit, so my leadership doesn't matter. I've got a leadership of 14. That's cool, I suppose. Now it actually does matter. That those models that have leadership 14 or 15, the really high leadership models, they are far more well protected against terrifying weapons, and that's not something that they really had to deal with before. So that is where the Immaculate Fury really kind of lands, is picking on troopers, picking on low. Again, he's kind of a big bully. He uses symmetry. He uses this soul share rifle to hit people who don't have the morale, who don't have the training to withstand these forces. And so far, we've been really happy with him. At eight deployment points and only one support point, he's actually pretty easy to fit into a force. Basically, instead of taking 2 Necromutants, you take 1 Immaculate Fury and pick on your opponent's low leadership forces while you're trotting up the field, and make sure that you're somewhat close to some terrain to jack up that armor to higher levels. Don't be afraid to ambush somebody with that gun, because if you can get them at the right time, you might be able to gruesome several people into being pinned at once. That's where it's at. And then the other release that we put out last week is the Dr. Diana unit box, or the Doctor's Diana, as someone had said, because in her story, in her lore, the original Diana was generations ago, and they created the Project Diana, created a perfect clone of the best medic and technological mind, the best cybernetic medic that they've ever had on staff. And when we looked at that, Alex and I were like, well, we could make a Diana. Obviously, we're gonna make a Diana because she's gonna be a cool medic. But I was like, well, why don't we make 2 versions of her? Make one that is just the medic version that runs around with forces, and then make one that is slightly more experienced, one that has been through some more campaigns, who's seen a little bit more action, so she's got some strategy behind her. And we created a leader version of her too. Now, there's stat lines, unlike the leaders that you find in like troop-based units, where the leaders almost always have a higher leadership, a higher missile weapon. Because these guys are perfect clones, we wanted to keep their stat line the same, so that doesn't change. But what does change is they gain the ability to inspire others. Basically, the leader can do the hang in there, I'm on my way, that kind of thing. They both have currently the best first aid training in the game at 13. They have awareness, allowing them to hopefully survive a little better. You can always use your extra awareness actions to network away, or to potentially take shots back if you survive, or ambush somebody at that perfect moment. But their drawback to the Doctor's Diana is that they're only armed with a sidearm. The P-1000 is a great gun. It's a great pistol, but it's still just a pistol, and you're probably not going to want to use her action as well as her reaction in order to ambush somebody, because your action is going to be so important as a medic, is to get where you need to go, which she is very able to do with a movement of 6. She's got, she's a clone, but she's got some cybernetic augments as well, making her, again, the Johnny on the spot perfect medic, or perfect as can be. But that being said, she does not have very thick armor for a Cybertronic model at 22, and she only has 2 wounds. So a very while you're running from point A to point B, to go ahead and throw some derma patches on that Chasseur Heavy, or get next to that Attila so he can't be double wounded out, if someone has an ambush on standby and they clip you, she might just go down. And that's just, it is what it is. The awareness hopefully will help, because it means that you can dive for cover twice over the course of the round, making that armor a little more respectable. And then in the case where you do in fact get pinned, or maybe you take a wound, but that pinned is just going to have you sit there where you can't get closer to help your friends as the rest of the battlefield kind of moves along without you since you were pinned. We did make sure that Diana has Shake It Off, which is normally a trait that we've kind of saved for, tough guys that just don't care. Diana's more of a determination factor. It's I have to be where I need to be to save my friends. So we gave her Shake It Off. That means that she can shed those pinned counters without having to make a rally action. It is very helpful. It's not perfect, and in certain cases, you still can take a rally action to dump a pin token that you might pick up somewhere along the way, but it's just an action that you don't have to worry about, and that's really what Diana is all about. Is you want to save her actions for running to get to where you need to go and potentially patch up your more expensive Cybertronic characters. Additionally, as the faction lean to Cybertronic becomes a little more evident with the release of more independent, like individual specialist type models, things like the Chemiman and the Scorpion and the TA 6500, when those models start to become part of the faction, you get to see why having a fast medic to reserve their actions to be able to run, get over there and heal somebody, is because Cybertronic's really going to be able to lean very hard into the concept of, we have maybe fewer models on the field, but each one is very cool and very special, and they're backed up by these badass chasseurs. So the Diana will be a very important piece to be able to keep those guys alive, especially as the other factions start to get better ways to deal with individual models quickly. So those are the first two releases. We're very happy that they are now officially available. In fact, literally last night, the night before we recorded this, one of the fans posted a picture of their Immaculate Fury that showed up on their doorstep. So they're already shipping. The pre-orders are starting to show up on doorsteps. So if you are a fan of Warzone, if you play Dark Legion, or if you play Cybertronic or know someone who does, please bop on over to trenchworks.com and order your stuff. And even if you're not, if you're just a Warzone fan or you're interested in the same, head on over to Transatlantis Games. I'll have the link in the description of the video. And download the lore docs, download the cards, see what you're missing, see what you might want to pick up or you might want to order when you have the opportunity. Apart from that, please stay aware of our new releases. I will tell more about them in the future, obviously. Just really excited to keep putting out new and great, cool new stuff for Warzone, because I love this game, I love the world, and I love being able to create in it. So I want to be able to keep doing that, and I can't do that with you if you guys stop buying. So please buy these cool things. Until 2 weeks from now, because again, next week is PAX Unplugged. 2 weeks from now, please be safe, wash your hands, get your shots, don't be a jerk, just try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there, and I think everything's going to be okay. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, have fun, be safe, and play some games, because I'm gonna. Bye.